and we must leave it stronger than we found it. Honorable members, let us move forward with focus, confidence, and collaboration. Let us use these remaining days to align our priorities, resolve our Let us use these remaining days to align our priorities, resolve our bottlenecks, and prepare to finish this term with the dignity and excellence that the people deserve. I look forward to interactive deliberations. The words of the Bible in the book of Ecclesiastes 7:8 that says, finishing a task is better than merely starting it, come to mind. Colleagues, let us finish strong. To set the stage for our deliberations and provide the administration context for the days ahead, it is now my distinct pleasure to invite the first presenter of the day. Please join me in welcoming the Clerk of the National Assembly, Mr. Samuel Njoroge CBS, to offer his welcome remarks. Bwana Clerk, you have the floor. Another round of applause.
Thank you very much, Session Chair, the first chairpersons of committees and distinguished member for Gilgil, Right Honorable Speaker and Chairman of our Parliamentary Service Commission, our Deputy Speaker, the Leader of Majority Party, the Leadership of Minority Party, our Parliamentary Service Commissioners, all chairs of committees present and vice chairs of committees present, colleagues, permanent secretaries who are present, and Honorable Speaker, permit me to recognize the permanent secretary for Parliamentary Affairs, P.S. Oleria Rono, who we have invited to be with us today. Karibu. We have also invited P.S. Wangombe, who is P.S. for Gender Affairs in the State Department for Gender. She will be joining us later, Honorable Speaker, largely for part of the subject that will be discussed today. Members of the board of the National Assembly and the joint services who are present, distinguished senior parliamentary officers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Mr. Speaker, it gives me pleasure to stand before members of Parliament today to simply welcome you to this third retreat. The first retreat happened during your induction in Mombasa. Then it was agreed that we'll be having annual retreats thereafter. We had one last year, specifically between 26th of January and 31st of January, a time like now, just to forge forward on the business that will be transacted before the House, to bond, to meet again, to tone down pollution, and you are elected to do certain things by the electorate. Delivering the fifth session agenda and preparing for transition. We are conscious, Honorable Speaker, that we are actually preparing for transition because we have 560 days only remaining between now and the next general elections, or precisely 80 weeks. And as your administrator, I have a duty to keep reminding you, and to keep reminding us of the time remaining between now and the next general elections. When you're newly elected, it looked long. It looked as if 5 years is long until you start working it. We have barely 1.5 years to go. And part of those 1.5 years will actually be a campaign period. So the only session we have to actually complete the work that you are elected to do, and the work of this parliament, is this session. Because the next session, which will commence early next year, a number of things happen. One, we normally start the last session of each parliament early. Instead of coming back in February, like you are coming back this time, for the next session, you will resume in January. Around January 20th, a time like this, the House will have started. That session is normally the shortest. Because by June 15th, and this time we are planning around June 18th, the House will do a senior recess so that you are able to go out and campaign. We learned from the lessons of the 10th Parliament that when we hold members back to do parliamentary business, while your colleagues, your competitors on the ground, we disadvantage you. During the term of the 10th Parliament, the likes of Honorable Kimunya, Honorable Jeru Ndwiga, and others, they remained in Parliament to finish the business of the House and the executive, but their constituents were not very kind on them. Walisema ni wabunge wa Nairobi. So we learned that moving forward, we will always try to release members early for the last session so that you can attempt to get your jobs back early enough. In this regard, Honorable Speaker, the House comes back early for the last session. We fast-track key businesses only. Budget policy statement, division of revenue bill, county allocation of revenue bill. If there is any additional allocation to go to counties, maybe we fast-track it. A finance bill, and any laws or regulations relating to elections. Those are the items that we facilitate, that we prioritize for the last session. It means that everything else, we need to constrict it within this session that starts now. The reason, Honorable Speaker, that we petitioned you, and we are glad that you agreed, that we have this meeting once again, so that we look at the business that needs to be done this session. It's also going to be very short. So, Speaker, the last time we were here, there are a number of things that were agreed that we ought to do. Part of them was that we need to start modestly relooking at the rules of procedure, what we call the standing orders. The job has started in earnest. As usual, we have started with officers sitting down, looking at the rules of procedure, officers in procedure, officers in committee, our legal counsel, the physical analysts. That's the job they are doing now. Part of the things they'll be looking at is a committee system. It will be called, Honorable Speaker, that we split the Public Investments Committee from one committee into 3 committees at the beginning of this Parliament. The idea was to try as much as possible to bring to current the examination of audits of our parastatos, which number over 250. Part of the assessment that we will be conducting is whether that system has worked. Have the committees chaired by the distinguished member for Pokot South, the committee chaired by the distinguished member for Navaholo, Honorable Wangwe, the committee chaired by Honorable Member for Butula, have they done 3 times the work that used to be done by the previous PIC when it was single? Sorry, Bumula, sorry, member for Bumula. Thank you. Have they done 3 times the work of the previous committees, the PIC as we knew it before? This is because there is a sunset clause in the standing orders that the current arrangement of splitting PICs will come to an end at the term of this Parliament, and we go back to a single PIC. If the House deems it fit to extend the term, given the performance of the 3 committees, then so be it. But it's only fair that that is done given the scorecard of the performance of the 3 committees combined. Mr. Speaker, we'll also be looking at the petitions committee to see whether the split has worked, as opposed to having petitions being discussed by the various departmental committees, as was the case before the standing orders. Mr. Speaker, we will also be looking, as part of this session, at the part on private bills, not private member bills, private bills. We have a part in our standing orders which does not seem to sit well given our current constitutional dispensation. We have a part called private bills, an imagination that a private individual can introduce bill to Parliament. Yet, our Constitution, under Article 109, provides that a bill may be introduced only by a member of Parliament or by a committee. So that's the part we are going to look again, so that if there's need to retire it completely from our standing orders, we retire it. We have learned, Honorable Speaker, that impeachment process, removal of persons from office, we need to codify it in our standing orders. Because our Senate has perfected the art of impeachment, given the practice of impeachment of governors, the Senate has already codified the impeachment rules in their standing orders. Therefore, it becomes very easy. Every time we are faced with a motion for impeachment, we always go to the Senate and to borrow a leaf, and also the Speaker's rulings. In this Parliament, so far we have had about 2 motions for impeachment of cabinet secretaries. One reached the floor, the other did not reach. We have had impeachment of Deputy President. We have realized that it's time we codify that practice in our rules of procedure. And that is going to be one of the things that we introduce as an annexure. We have the rules. What we don't have is the rules as part of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, in December, sometime in November, December, last year, the court granted National Assembly jurisdiction that the National Assembly was said to have neglected. That is jurisdiction with respect to approval of measures on taxation imposed by 7th of December 2025, where the court ruled that even where the East Africa community, even where Council of Ministers sit and decide on taxation matters on importation, sitting as ministers of East Africa community, because they are, in respect to Kenya, non-elected officials, their decision needs to come to the National Assembly for consideration and approval before coming into effect. Mr. Speaker, we were parties in court in that matter. We were tiptoeing. The judge asked our counsel, why have you neglected over the time the work to be done by East Africa community? Why would probably ahead of the finance bill, so that they can become financed, Honorable Speaker? They said that to gain jurisdiction, you protect jurisdiction. That's one area that they called to us, and we should actually protect it. Honorable Speaker, the other thing that you agreed in the last meeting is that, Honorable Speaker, the other thing that you agreed in the last meeting is that we will start working honestly with. This is your scheme. It is contributory you are 77,000 from your payslip, commencing distribution, and the balance is a buyback. We have started. We are working on it. There is a team that we are working on it. There is a team that was established by the Commission and approved by the House, and there is going to be a subject on how far we have gone and any new measures that we need to put in place so that after the Speaker, there was the issue of the security, which you agreed last time, and we are going to discuss it towards the end in a closed-door session. You also agreed last time, Mr. Speaker, that we have an open communication channel with Kenya Revenue Authority, NSSF, and SHA, so that we improve how constituency offices are run, but most importantly, the delivery of services to the people of Kenya. That resolution has yielded fruits, Honorable Speaker, and when we have the Cabinet Secretary for Health coming before you tomorrow, you'll see how it has yielded fruits. With respect to KRA and SSF, I wish to report that we are doing far much better in constituency offices than we were doing before. Now we have an office of KRA stationed in Parliament. We have the officers from KRA stationed in Parliament throughout to assist on returns, KRA returns, for your constituencies and also for individual members of Parliament and staff, so that we can comply. Because Parliament is one of the key taxpayers in terms of income tax. Going to the program, Honorable Speaker, before you, Honorable Members, we have a program which is 45 pages. It's a 45-page document. We also have a small book that is on your table that speaks to the work done by the House during the term of the third session. Not fourth session is the one that is coming to an end. Third session is the one that ended in February 2025. That one is ready. It's a booklet that you can study. It shows the work done by the House during that part of the session. In terms of program, Honorable Speaker, permit me to take members through the program the next 3 days. 23, which is in the middle, sorry, number 20, page number 20. The program shows that after this opening session, we are going to have an interaction on political parties regulation, and thereafter another one on electoral management preparedness. This is very deliberate. On political parties regulation, we're going to have a session with Mr. John Cox and his team. John Cox is a registrar of political parties. Bwana Cox, karibu sana with your team. The next topic will be about the electoral management and preparedness. We have invited the IBC, the entire commission, and their secretariat. It's very deliberate. It's because we know in the next 560 days, we are going into a general election. All factors held constant. So we'd want those two entities, the Registrar of Political Parties and the IBC, to prepare members in terms of what is the legislative support you would want from Parliament? What is the financial and budgetary support you would wish to ask from Parliament as one of your key stakeholders? The question of delimitation of boundaries, it is still out there. This is a place to speak about it openly. Mr. Speaker, we were advised previously that it is not good to amend laws relating to elections when you are too near elections, because you make it difficult for the referee to prepare for elections given the changes in law. And therefore, we hope that we'll agree on way forward in terms of any legislation, any amendment to law, any regulations that the IBC wishes Parliament to do, and we agree on a timeline so that they have a headroom to prepare after the law has been changed or amended. Mr. Speaker, there are three matters that are still very core to the people of Kenya: the health, health of the nation, economy, and education. Therefore, you instructed, Honorable Speaker, that in the program, we ensure that we are going to have the Cabinet Secretaries for Education tomorrow. Thereafter, Cabinet Secretary for Health and his team from SHA and the level 6 hospitals, if possible, and the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury. So in your program for tomorrow, tomorrow is largely reserved for engagement with your Cabinet Secretaries, together with a discussion by our Chairperson of Budget and the Chairperson of Finance Committee and the Chair for Committee on Public Debt. Permit me to go back a bit, Honorable Speaker, to today, that after we finish with the electoral management process, we are supposed to have a session on legal issues affecting the National Assembly, where we'll speak about NGCDF and GAF. There is also the matter of data protection. Initially, we had hoped that we do data protection after we finish with CDF and GAF. But we'll be requesting, Honorable Speaker, that we reorder so that we start with the data protection as plenary, then go to CDF. When we are doing CDF, our distinguished 47 members of parliament representing the counties will retreat to a separate room to discuss matters of GAF with the PS Wangombe and her team. We'll be requesting, Honorable Speaker, that we rework the program along those lines. The topic on data protection, Honorable Speaker, is also very deliberate. We realized we are getting a lot of intruders into our website, social media pages as an institution. When we are doing the finance bill of 2025, we got some intruders and were able to do certain things with respect to protection. But at individual level, members are still exposed. Our police station is still dealing with instances where phones of members of parliament, just like any other Kenyan, have been hacked, their social media pages, and they are impersonators. So we have called an expert called Mr. Gameli, who had a discussion with members during our KEPSA retreat, so that he can sensitize us on these dangers and what we can do to mitigate and protect ourselves from this kind of exposure, because cybersecurity is here with us. Mr. Speaker, on Thursday, I've spoken about Tuesday, Wednesdays for CSs largely. On Thursday, Honorable Speaker, it's going to be a session for members only. We have reserved days as usual for the last day. It is the day to speak about the progress of the things that we have achieved with respect to welfare, the post-service medical scheme. Distinguished member for Waraka will take you through it. The bill by Honorable Makali Mulu, member for Kitui Central. We were asked to do an actuary. An actuary was commissioned to do certain things on it, and we'll be reporting about it. So that's a day reserved for any welfare or in-house matters. Therefore, we'll be persuading you to leave any questions that you have on welfare for that day, Honorable Speaker. We have somewhere in the middle tomorrow also invited the managing trustee for NSSF, because there are changes that were made to the NSSF law in the last parliament, but which are coming into effect this parliament in a phased manner, so that the MT can also apprise you on those changes and the likely impact of the changes on the payroll, even, and what to do, Honorable Speaker, and most importantly, what the NSF is doing to secure the funds of pensioners. Honorable Speaker, in a nutshell, that is a program. We have invited a group of exhibitors to exhibit our constituency and county office. They are exhibiting outside. They have a tent, so that should you have any issues relating to your constituency office, the time to resolve it is now, instead of waiting to go back to the capital. Ms. Kamoni is here with her team. We also have Parliament's Human Resource Department, which will also be doing certain HR matters, including the important thing of updating records of our beneficiaries. You don't know how important that is until it is needed. And most of the times it is needed when it is not possible to get you. So, Speaker, we also have SHA, who will be exhibiting outside. The NTSA, National Transport and Safety Authority, will also be exhibiting outside matters of driving licenses, number plates for yourselves, for your drivers, and any questions relating to NTSA for the people that you represent. NSSF also is exhibiting any matters relating to NSSF for the people that you represent. The pensions for the people that you represent that may be stuck at NSSF, they have a tent outside, Honorable Speaker. KRA, any matters relating to KRA, they are also outside. Given the experience of last time, we have also invited the current hospital to exhibit, do the usual tests on us as usual. They are doing it on pro bono basis, Honorable Speaker, as part of their CSR. As I come to an end, Mr. Speaker, allow me to introduce the senior team from Parliament that is with us here today. We have the person who is in charge of the program, Deputy Clerk Sarah Kioko. Sarah Simama, once again. She's the one who has been in charge of this program. And she has helped in coordination of the program. Next to Sarah is Director General, Parliamentary Joint Services, Dr. Clement Nyandiere. Matters relating to medical scheme for members of Parliament, the insurance scheme, Bunge Tower, security, they are ordinarily under Mr. Nyandiere, and will be making a speak about it on Thursday. We normally don't leave the Center for Parliamentary Studies behind, the CPST. Asante sana, Professor Nyokabi, for being with us. Indomitable, distinguished Deputy Clerk Jeremiah Dombi, asante sana, Mr. Dombi, for being with us and coordinating this. We have Directors Kipkemo Yarab Kirui. Thank you. He's also assisting Ms. Sarah Kioko to coordinate this. We have Director, Parliamentary Budget Office, Dr. Muyundo Masinde. Dr. Muyundo, karibu sana. That's a person in charge of advisory on parliamentary, on budget matters. Mr. Speaker, let me say this proudly, that Parliament has come of age. Every time there is budget being done at the National Treasury, we are happy that National Treasury always consults our Parliamentary Budget Office, and sometimes we ask for their expertise, and we are grateful for the work being done by our PBO. Director, Litigation Services, Mr. Sheriff Samwendwa. Speaker, this man may look short, like me, but he's doing a tremendous job. We have over 500 court cases affecting National Assembly and Parliament in general, some against the person of the Speaker, and it is Mr. Mwendwa and his team who always represent us, including giving you advisory on certain matters relating to your constituency and county offices. We also have Director Legal Services, where is Ms. Akama? She's not with us. Oh, Ms. Akama is seated at the back. She likes hiding herself. Karibu sana, Ms. Akama. We also have the Deputy Director in charge of Hansard, Mr. Mutungi. Karibu, Mr. Mutungi. He's also seated at the back. He likes hiding himself. We have the person in charge of catering, Mr. Masonko. Asante Bwana Masonko, the person who improves our catering services. Director in charge of committees, Mr. Chemweno. I haven't seen you today. Chemweno. Okay. Karibu Kipsang. Chemweno is in charge of the departmental committees. Ms. Florence Atenyo Abonyo. Hello, Uko. Florence Atenyo Abonyo, Mr. Speaker, is the one in charge of committees called Audit, Appropriations, and General Purpose Committees. She's doing her last phase. She'll be retiring in about 1 month to go, Honorable Speaker, and a time will come for us to request you, Honorable Speaker, in the House to celebrate her. She has been with Parliament for over 34 years. Director Apopo is the director in charge of Speaker's office and also in charge of the leadership offices, also like hiding at the back. It's my height at the back, he's there. Director Dishon Nyaga, also at the back, Karibu. Mr. Director for Finance, also seated at the back with his deputy, Mr. Meikoki Asanti. Director in charge of procurement, the one who has ensured that this venue was procured in good time, Mr. Malinda, Karibu. Ms. Agnes Kamoni, the most popular name amongst members of Parliament, the girl who sorts your constituency and county issues, also at the back. The acting Chief Sergeant at Arms, Major Retired Bernard Masinde. Karibu sana. Masinde is most likely outside at the moment because he's coordinating matters relating to your bodyguards and their security. And we also have Director in charge of research, Mr. Kefa Omoti. Thank you, Banamoti. Mr. Speaker, that is the team that assists me in administration of the National Assembly. As I conclude, having introduced the program, Honorable Speaker, allow me to leave with this one word, that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. We are here so that we can do better than we did last time. We agreed last time, Honorable Speaker, that there's going to be more decorum in the House, and we saw that last session. It was better compared to the first and second sessions, that the Presidium will allow more members to speak than before, particularly the members who are serving a first time. We have seen an improvement in that, Honorable Speaker, and that we are going to have less of occasions of the question of quorum being raised in the House. And we have seen great improvement in that, Honorable Speaker. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, allow me to return the mic back to the session chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Members.
Another round of applause for our clerk. Mr. Speaker, allow me shortly to recognize the host member of Parliament. I think it's very important. Honorable Jane Kihara, stand up. Yes, that is our host member of Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, you know Gilgil and Naivasha used to be one constituency. She hived one part for me to represent. So, honorable members, I think the clerk has done a very good job in outlining what is expected in the program. And one thing, Mr. Speaker, I will note, and the difference between other retreats that you've had, is that this one includes transition. And the clerk has already counted the days. I know, honorable members, it's not a very good thing to hear that in ile mwaka. So we pray that we'll make back, many of us will make it back here. Honorable members, back to the program. I know we are kind of behind the schedule, but we'll try to catch up. I will now invite the leader of Minority Party to make their remarks, represented here by the Deputy Honorable Robert Mboi, member for Kathiani. A round of applause for Robert, honorable member for Kathiani, as he comes to the podium to make his remarks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Wangari, our MC. The Speaker of the National Assembly and Chairperson of the Parliamentary Service Commission, the Right Honorable Moses Masika Wetang'ula, aka Papa wa Roma. Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Leader of the Majority Party, Deputy Leader of the Majority Party, the Whips of the Majority Party and Minority Parties, members of the Chairperson's Panel, Commissioners of the Parliamentary Service Commission, Deputy Whips of the Majority and Minority Parties, the Chairpersons and Vice Chairpersons of committees, all honorable members and distinguished guests. I warmly greet you this morning. I first want to thank the Honorable Speaker and the clerk and the team for coming up with this new initiative that every year, at the beginning of the year, we get together so that we can, prepare the agenda for the year and chart a way forward as an assembly. Secondly, I want to say that it is a welcome relief, Mr. Speaker, because you know the sun is really hot out there. So when you bring us here, at least you cool the tempers just before we can start off the work of the year. So thank you very much for that. I want to also thank members, because noting that we only have about 19 months to ile wakati umesema, I can see we almost have full house. That means we are not worried. And that is also a good initiative. Now, Mr. Speaker, allow me to make the following remarks on behalf of the leader of the minority party, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, EGH MP for Suna East. We gather here today to take stock of our parliamentary performance in 2025, a year marked by intense legislative activity, oversight engagements, profound national socio-political developments, and moments of deep national loss. This retreat provides us with a rare opportunity not merely to review our record, but to reflect honestly on whether our actions as legislators have made a meaningful difference in the lives of those that we represent. Our objective is clear: to draw lessons from both our achievements and our shortcomings, so that we may serve the people of Kenya more effectively, more responsibly, and with renewed purpose. It is a privilege to join you at this retreat, convened at a truly decisive moment in the life of the 13th Parliament. As we transition into the 5th session, we do so conscious that this is not another parliamentary year, but a critical session that will shape our legacy and define our readiness for the next term of Parliament. Honorable members, our theme, Securing a Lasting Parliamentary Legacy, invites us to go above and beyond retrospection. It calls for honesty, collective planning, and deliberate action. It challenges us to develop practical strategies that will guide our work in the 5th session while laying a firm foundation for institutional transition. Over the coming days, we must interrogate our performance with candor. We must identify gaps, members. We must confront uncomfortable truths and agree on realistic strategies to finish this term strong and deliver meaningful outcomes for our constituents. Honorable members, as we look ahead, it is imperative that we prioritize our legislative agenda for the 5th session. This retreat should culminate in a clear set of priorities to guide the leadership of the House and members alike. The House has carried an immense workload in the 4th session, processing several bills, motions, petitions, statements, and committee reports, some with very tight deadlines, demonstrating both institutional capacity and commitment. We have strengthened financing of our counties through the passage of the Division of Revenue Bill, enacted key legislation, including the Finance Bill, the Conflict of Interest Bill, the Social Protection Bill of 2025. These interventions have sought to spur economic growth, promote integrity in public service, and enhance social safety nets. However, we must confront the harder questions. What has been our real impact on the lives of ordinary Kenyans? Have our interventions sufficiently addressed the rising cost of living and economic pressures facing households across the country? Equally, we must ask whether the laws we pass are being faithfully implemented and whether our oversight work is translating into tangible improvements in service delivery. Case in point being the decision we made on the EGP. Going forward, priority must be given to the legislation that supports economic recovery, strengthens anti-corruption frameworks, and creates an enabling environment for job creation. We must also remain firmly committed to reforms in social protection and healthcare that safeguard the most vulnerable amongst us. Our success as a House cannot be measured only by the volume of legislation produced, but the quality, relevance, impact of our work. The 5th session must therefore focus on high-impact legislation and rigorous oversight that improves the realities of our constituents. Honorable members, with the 2027 general elections drawing near, the window of preparation is rapidly closing, and Kenyans are increasingly attentive to the integrity and credibility of our democratic processes. This House bears a solemn constitutional responsibility to ensure that the electoral framework is credible, well-resourced, and fully prepared for a peaceful transition. In this regard, 4 priorities demand our attention: timely and adequate financing of the IEBC, review of the legal framework, regulation and financing of political parties, enactment of targeted legal reforms arising from the 2022 electoral experience, and sustained investment in voter education and registration. We hope to gain more ideas in tackling these issues from the related sessions on the retreat program. Our oversight committees must also remain continuously engaged with the IEBC, the National Treasury, and all relevant stakeholders. Through structured oversight and timely interventions, we can ensure that the critical milestones are met and that electoral preparedness is not left to the last minute. Honorable members, Kenya has made commendable progress in data protection and cyber security. But I'll skip that because I think our clerk has spoken very well about that. Honorable members, I'm glad that we shall be discussing critical matters of education during this retreat. Indeed, the ongoing transition to competence-based education curriculum remains one of the most consequential reforms in our education sector. While its objectives are laudable, success depends on careful management of the transition, adequate resourcing, and sustained oversight to ensure no learner is left behind. And I know, members, you all have had challenges with our enrollment into grade 10 and our new system of senior schools. Similarly, healthcare reforms remain at the center of our national conversation. The transition to the Social Health Authority is a major structural shift that Kenyans expect to deliver affordable, accessible, and dignified care. And this also must be done properly and so that it can be successful. Parliament must therefore rigorously assess whether these reforms and advance in universal health coverage or inadvertently create new barriers. Where gaps emerge, we must be prepared legislatively to protect the public interest. As I finalize, honorable members, Kenya is also undertaking reforms in the management of state-owned enterprises. While privatization and public-private partnerships can unlock value, these processes must remain transparent, accountable, and firmly anchored in public interest. Parliament must safeguard national assets from unaccountable disposal, ensure that divestiture processes deliver genuine value to our citizens. Honorable members, from this retreat, we must emerge with a clear implementation matrix, defined timelines, measurable outcomes, enhanced public participation, electoral preparedness, early legislative planning, and strengthened committee coordination will also be essential in delivering meaningful results in the 5th session. Finally, and really finally, it is important to mention that our deliberations take place in the shadow of significant national events in 2025. We mourned the passing on of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, a towering figure in Kenya's democratic journey. Parliament special sittings and other notable activities in his honor reflected bipartisan respect and reminded us of the enduring importance of principled leadership in shaping our democracy. Honorable members, the responsibility before us is heavy, but with the opportunity is also profound. Let us rise to the occasion and secure a legacy worth of the trust that Kenyans have placed in this house. I wish you all highly productive and insightful engagements throughout this retreat. Thank you. From the Right Honorable, Honorable Junet Mohammed, EGH MP, Leader of the Minority Party. Thank you, members.
Another round of applause for Honorable Member for Kathiani. Mr. Speaker, before I call the next speaker, allow me, Clerk, to note that the reason you hear the members' remarks also had something about cybersecurity is how important it is. And I think Honorable KJ can confirm that this coming election, not just about the institution, even members, the issue of misinformation and disinformation will actually be a serious part of this next campaign, and regardless of the laws that we have, the damage precedes any action or consequence. So thank you for including it in the program. The next speaker will be the leader of majority, the Honorable Member for Kikuyu, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, EGH. Can we have a round of applause for Honorable Kimani as he comes to the stage to also make his remarks?
Thank you, Mother. The Right Honorable Speaker, the Leader of Minority, represented by the Deputy, Honorable Robert Mbui, our Deputy Speaker, Clerk of the National Assembly, Honorable Members, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Honorable Speaker, when Robert was presenting, I asked myself, and I was looking at Honorable Owen Baya, to see if his level of sycophancy would get to that of Robert Mbui, because you heard when Robert Mbui was concluding the remarks, he read from the Right Honorable Junet Mohammed, Leader of Minority. So, and I hope there are lessons you are learning. Happy New Year. I'm indeed happy, Honorable Speaker, to have the privilege and honor to address these honorable members this early in the year as we transition into the 5th session of the 13th Parliament. And as I've been said by the speakers who've spoken ahead of me, this session does represent a very defining phase and a critical phase in the life of our 13th Parliament. And it's a phase where we must all work together to consolidate the work that we have done over the last 3 or so years, or 2.5 to 3 years, and also complete all the pending work that is ahead of us. And I think, as you've heard from the Leader of Minority and the Clerk, there is quite a bit of pending work. And also decisively deliver on our legislative agenda that will be before us as a House. And this retreat indeed offers all of us together that opportunity for the National Assembly to provide leadership in refining our legislative agenda and our program as we strengthen oversight over the executive and other arms of government, and also to ensure that our work does translate into tangible results for the people that we represent, the people who honorably elected us to come and represent them in the National Assembly. Honorable members, therefore, as we take stock of the journey that we have come over the last 3 or so years in the 13th Parliament, we must recognize that the 5th session represents a very decisive phase for us. And this is a moment that will shape how this Parliament will be remembered ultimately. And I therefore urge you to enter this session with focus, immense discipline, and commitment to secure both our individual and collective legacies in the 13th Parliament as we begin at the beginning of next month. Honorable members, as we reflect on the 4th session, I commend you for the diligence that you all put in and fulfilled the National Assembly's mandates of legislation, representation, and oversight, as well as appropriation. And during the session, the House held a total of 116 sittings. And you see from the presentation here the number of bills that we were able to consider, about 49 bills, out of which 23 were concluded. A total of 210 motions, out of which 150 were concluded, petitions 64, and 28. And with that, you see the issues that the Clerk of the National Assembly was speaking to. Probably at the end of this session, we should be asking ourselves whether indeed the Petitions Committee is doing us well, and in terms of processing of petitions that come to us, and or whether we will need to review our standing orders as we come to the end of this 13th Parliament. Questions, again, with the changes to the standing orders and statements, you see there were quite a number, 130, 76 were answered, and must commend chairs of committees and committees that put in a lot of work to consider many of these questions and statements. But you can see we are still lagging behind on statements. A total of 591 statements and only 191 were concluded. It tells you that we have over 400 statements. Statements requested by yourselves, many of them on behalf of your members, and 400 of them are still pending before committees. Honorable Speaker, you will remember that we have engaged on this in the House Business Committee, that these 400 statements that are still pending, many of them, chairs and vice chairs of committees tell us the answer will be coming in how long? 2 weeks. So 2 weeks has become a customary response for any chair of a committee. But how often do we follow up to make sure that within those 2 weeks, we deliver on those statements? Because if we did, we would not have 400 of them pending. We have considered 82 statutory instruments very well because 68 of them have been concluded. Session of papers, only 1 is pending. Treaties and agreements out of 16, 9 have been concluded, 7 pending. And of course, we have had a total of 3,130 papers that have been laid before the House. Honorable Speaker, this record reflects the scale of responsibility borne by the National Assembly and underscores the need for careful planning as we move forward this session. And right, Honorable Speaker, we thank you for the leadership in steering the House through the 4th session and look forward to a very productive 5th session. Honorable members, the upcoming session presents a demanding legislative agenda alongside the implementation of a consequential budget that is designed to deliver on transformative national projects. Our legislative and oversight responsibility will be critical in ensuring that these projects move beyond policy and resource allocation, but are translated into tangible outcomes for our constituents. And as the clerk did indicate, I think on Thursday, the chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Atandi, will have a session, as well as the chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee, to take us through this very consequential budget. Noteworthy, it's good to mention that this year's budget may be the very last budget that will be consequential to you and to your constituents in this life of Parliament. Because as the clerk indicated, next year's budget, we will do it in the run-up to the elections, and definitely with campaigns coming in, we will not have good time to follow up, and many of us will be very busy in the constituencies. Therefore, this is the time to engage constructively and meaningfully, including the Honorable Mpuru Aburi and the Honorable Wamudende, who is newly elected, the Honorable Ndakwa. This budget will be the most consequential for your constituents. Therefore, I want to invite you to also make sure that when the Honorable Atandi is presenting, you are present. Honorable Speaker, some priority business for the 5th session includes consideration of the field development plan and product sharing contracts for Block T6 and T7 in South Lokicha, based in Turkana County. We also have the session of paper number 3 of 2025 on partial divestiture in Safaricom PLC by the government of Kenya. And the Honorable Robert Mbui has alluded to this divestiture and the privatization process that is ongoing, and invited us to make sure that as a House we offer meaningful oversight to make sure that the Kenyan people that we represent get value for their money and get value for the assets that our forefathers established in our country, so that as we divest, we make sure that the people of Kenya gain value for it. As you are aware, these matters were received towards the end of the 4th session and committed to relevant committees to conduct extensive public participation and thereafter report to the House for consideration upon its resumption. And I must thank members of the Finance and National Planning Committee, members of the Debt and Privatization Committee, who have been working tirelessly throughout this recess period to make sure that they conduct meaningful, quantitative, and quality public participation that I see is going on until the 14th of February. And therefore, we do expect that we'll be tabling a report. And I want to invite you, honorable members, to interact with the report ahead of debate once it is tabled, and also take your time to invite your constituents and yourselves to attend the public participation exercises, because I want to believe that we all are elected by our constituents because they believed that we know better and we ought to know better, and therefore should be at the forefront in guiding them, so that we stem the culture that has permeated in our society and in our country today of misinformation and disinformation. The time to do it is now, and we must be at the forefront, to lead from the front, to make sure that we engage in a meaningful way with the committee as they do the public participation exercise that I said will go on until the 14th of February. Among the notable bills, honorable members, that the House considered in the previous session and subsequently enacted into law include the Government-Owned Enterprises Bill of 2025 and the Repeal Privatization Act of 2025. As indicated in the program again, this retreat provides us an opportunity to deliberate on utilization of the proceeds arising from the divestiture and to review the status of implementation of these statutes, with a keen focus on the National Assembly's legislative and oversight roles. Now, allow me, Honorable Speaker, just to expound a little bit on the GOE Act and the Privatization Act that we enacted and passed into law. Because, Honorable Speaker, as I said, we must always be at the forefront in leading our people. And when we divest from government enterprises through privatization, the Honorable Mbui has challenged us in his remarks that we, as a House, we must be there to offer meaningful oversight, ensure that whatever monies come from the privatization process are utilized in a manner that creates impact for our people. And we have listened to those in the executive, and we have heard them commit that none of the money that will be raised out of the privatization process will go, one, into repaying debt, our public debt, two, to settling recurrent expenditure in our country. And it has been said it will not go to pay salaries. And payment of salaries is important. Repayment of our debt is important. But as those in the executive have committed, the people to make sure that that is not done is us in the legislature, by offering meaningful oversight. Therefore, those in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, I know you'll be invited, and you'll be inviting us to consider appropriating part of the resources, or rather wholly the resources that will come into the consolidated fund out of the divestiture process. We must ensure that these monies get to where the monies were destined to go to, and will not go into settling any recurrent expenditure or even settling part of our public debt. And that's why I joined my colleague and brother, Honorable Robert Bui, and also inviting you together collectively, because I know Honorable Mbui spoke as a leader of minority. But as a House, we have a collective duty and responsibility in line with our Constitution to oversight the executive. And I want to invite all of us to offer that meaningful oversight together. Honorable Speaker, notably 22 bills that were not concluded during the fourth session were exempted from the provisions of Standing Order 141-2 of the National Assembly Standing Orders on lapsing of bills, and therefore those 22 bills did not lapse at the end of the last session and will be further considered in the fifth session. This include, among others, the petitions to Parliament Procedure Amendment Bill of 2022, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill of 2024, and the Pensions Amendment Bill of 2024. I believe this is the Makali Mulu Pensions Amendment Bill, and other priority legislative proposals on governance, economic management, and social policy. I therefore want to urge honorable members to approach this outstanding business with renewed commitment, so that the House may conclude its work efficiently and responsibly to advance the interests of the Kenyan people. And I want to believe that those of us who sit in the House Business Committee, we will indeed work to prioritize part of this pending business so that it's quickly considered at the beginning of this session. In scheduling business for the 5th session, I implore you to leverage this opportunity to also identify priority areas of high impact to the citizenry and advance appropriate legislation and interventions through motions and other House instruments. Some areas of interest are included in this retreat program and pave way for focused deliberations on key national and governance issues, including the regulation and financing of political parties, and we had John Cox is here from the ORPP, election preparedness, the state of the economy, implementation of the competency-based education curriculum, and I'm happy to note that in the program, the CS, National Treasury, CS Education will be joining us tomorrow or the day after. The status of healthcare service delivery, CS Aden Duale and his team will be here. And the way forward with respect to the National Government Constituencies Development Fund, NGCDF, which I want to believe you all have a deep interest in. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, allow me to borrow from the words in the Holy Book, Psalms 133, that says, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." And allow me to reiterate the power of collective intelligence, that when diverse voices are heard, independent judgment is respected and decisions are anchored in the common good. Institutions inevitably make wiser and more enduring choices. The strength of this House does not rest in any one member or any one individual, but in our collective resolve to deliberate with honesty, decide with prudence, and always act in the best interest of the people that we represent, the people of Kenya. Honorable members, this retreat therefore presents a timely platform for reflection, candid engagement, and consensus building on critical matters of concern to the Kenyan people. Let us approach this task with purpose and a shared commitment to the mandate entrusted to us by the people. And I wish you all very fruitful deliberations, and thank you for lending me your ears. And with that, Honorable Speaker, it will now be my singular honor and pleasure to now invite the very right honorable, since Honorable Junet was right honorable, the very right honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Senior Counsel, and our leader in the National Assembly, the Honorable Speaker Moses Masika Wetang'ula. Karibu uongee na jeshi lako.
Asante sana. Asante sana, Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah. Happy New Year, honorable members. Karibu sana Naivasha, Nakuru County, the county where women rule. The only county with a woman governor, a woman senator, and 4 elected women members of parliament. Is there another county with that? It is also a county where I first worked in my employment. As a magistrate, I was posted to Nakuru in October 1982. And I worked very well with the leadership here. Honorable members, welcome to this retreat, a retreat that brings us together at a time when this Parliament is on home stretch. Before I say anything, allow me to acknowledge part of our leadership. We have members of the Parliamentary Service Commission, Honorable Faith Gitau, Commissioner, Honorable Mishimbogo, Commissioner. We have Honorable Rachel Ameso, Commissioner. And we have apologies from the Honorable Patrick Makau, Muhammad Ali. Okongo Mogeni will be here with us on Thursday to make a presentation. Honorable Matinga, Senator Nyeri, apology, and Honorable Mudama. We also have the members from among you who assist the Speaker in the discharge of his duties. My distinguished deputy, Honorable Gladys Boss, is here. Honorable Martha Wangari is here. Honorable David Ocheng is here. Honorable Peter Opondo Kaluma is here. And Honorable Rachel Nyamai is here. Is Omboko Milemba in the house? And Farah Maalim, I'm sure they'll be joining us. If you look at your program, you'll see, for abundance of caution, the clerk and his team put yours truly as chairing all the sessions, simply because he didn't know who of my panelists will be here, being a recess period, and since some members had not confirmed attendance. So in the course of the meetings, they will be called upon to assist in chairing the sessions. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge the presence of Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, our Majority Leader, Honorable Robert Mbui, sitting in for Junet Mohammed, the Vice Chairpersons and Chairpersons of all committees of the House, Honorable members, the Clerk of the Assembly, Samuel Njoroge. We're expecting the Chairperson of IEBC. I don't know if Ethicon is here yet. The Registrar of Political Parties, John Cox. Chief Executive Officer, National Government Constituency Development Fund Board, Bwanambuno, is he here? Senior parliamentary officers who have been introduced to you, distinguished resource persons, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable members, I welcome you here to this retreat with the theme, Securing Parliamentary Legacy, Delivering the Fifth Session's Agenda and Preparing for Transition. Obviously, when we talk of preparing for transition, then it brings you to remember what Chinua Achebe said, that all women feel very uncomfortable when dry bones are mentioned in a proverb. So as it is now, when we talk of transition, we keep asking ourselves, who is transiting? Is it me? Is it you? But the ideal situation is to wish each one of you well as we face the next general election. Honorable members, we meet here in Naivasha at a defining moment approximately 17 months before the next general election. As political activity inevitably intensifies, this retreat offers us an opportunity to pause, reflect, and refocus. It allows us to step away from the politics that now dominate public discourse and to remind ourselves of our enduring constitutional responsibility of legislation, oversight, and representation of the people of Kenya with dignity and purpose. Honorable members, as we move closer to the election cycle, we must also remain alive to the political environment that naturally accompanies such a period. Experience teaches us that as political temperatures rise, positions harden, and competition intensifies. These dynamics are inevitable in a democratic society, but they must never be allowed to erode the integrity, dignity, and collegiality of this House. As we vigorously joust on the political field outside the precincts of Parliament, when we return to the chamber and in our committees, let us treat one another with decorum, respect, and restraint expected of honorable members. The authority of this House rests not only in the laws we pass, but also in the conduct we exhibit. As legislators, always remember that parliaments are not judged solely by the number of laws they pass, but by the impact those laws have on the lives of the people and the strength of the institutions they leave behind. Our deliberations here must therefore be guided by purpose, responsibility, and foresight. We are securing the institutional legacy that we shall hand over to the next Parliament. Honourable members, as we reflect on the previous session, there is much to commend. Attendance in the House improved significantly. Quorum challenges in the last session were minimal, and the quality of debate was notably enhanced. Legislative and oversight business progressed steadily, and I therefore thank and commend all of you members for your commitment and seriousness of purpose. I wish to note with appreciation the marked improvement in the relationship between the National Assembly and the judiciary. This progress demonstrates that while the doctrine of separation of powers remains fundamental to our constitutional order, institutional independence does not mean institutional antagonism. And indeed, last year, when we had the leadership retreat in Mombasa, we also had a colloquium with the judiciary led by the Chief Justice, and those who are there saw how the camaraderie between the two institutions evolved and developed, and going forward, we hope that that is what it will be. Our respective mandates must continue to be exercised with mutual respect, dialogue, and restraint. A cooperative constitutional architecture strengthens democracy, promotes stability, and ultimately serves the interests of the Kenyan people. I therefore urge this House to continue engaging the judiciary and other institutions in a manner that is respectful, consultative, and anchored in the Constitution. Allow me, honorable members, to also acknowledge the presence in our midst of PS Aurelia Rono, the PS in charge of the State Department for Parliamentary Liaison, who we have invited to sit with us, and along the way she will be able to pick bits and pieces of some of the frustrations we go through in engaging some members of the executive. Honorable members, the preceding session also had its low moments. The loss of the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, was one such low moment. Agwambo, as he was fondly referred to, was a towering figure in Kenya's political history, whose life was devoted to public service, unity, and the advancement of our nation. His leadership, courage, and commitment to democratic ideals earned him admiration across generations and across party lines. As we remember the immense contributions he made to our country and to the parliamentary fraternity, let us honor his legacy and the values he stood for. Agwambo, as you know, was the only politician in this country, arguably, who fought a good political fight, respected the outcome, and patriotically made friendship with everybody that they had fought with. Many of you, I'm sure, back in your constituencies, hardly share a glass of water with your opponents. In the course of the fourth session, we also experienced profound sorrow following the passing on of 5 honorable members of parliament and several members of staff whose dedication to service will not be forgotten. The members who passed on were the Honorable William Kipkorir Cheptumo, former member of Baringo North and senator for Baringo, the Honorable Moses Malulu Injendi, former member for Malava, the Honorable Charles Ongondo Were, former member for Kasipul, the Honorable Mohammed Tubi Bidu, former member for Isiolo, and the Honorable Joseph Hamis Dena, former nominated member. The year was also sadly marked with the loss of former members of parliament who include the Reverend Kennedy Odhiambo Nyagudi, the Honorable Ambassador John Koech, the Honorable Dr. Phoebe Muga Asio, the Honorable Catherine Mora Nyamato, the Honorable Delmas Anyango Otieno, the Honorable Francis Tome Nyamo, commonly known as FT Nyamo, the Honorable Enoch Wamalwa Kibunguchi, the Honorable Joseph Munyao, Honorable Aburi. If you are not keen to listen, there is a tent out there. The Honorable Joseph Munyao and the Honorable Cyrus Shahalaha Jirongo. Their passing on reminded us of the human side of public service. And thank you, Angela. And the Honorable Daniel Hamasi, who served for 2 terms and was also a member of the Parliamentary Service Commission and the Speaker's panel. Elijah Lagat, the athlete from Nandi, yes, we served with him. Dr. Misoi, did he pass on during this parliament? Yes, sorry, Njoroge, James Nahwanga Osogo, yes, from Budalangi, and many more. May their souls rest in eternal peace. As we proceed with this retreat, let us also remember all our departed colleagues and pray that God, in His grace, preserves all of us and our families in the year ahead. Honourable members, oversight is a core pillar of our work, and this retreat devotes significant attention to economic oversight, budgetary processes, and governance reforms. The scheduled discussions on education reforms, healthcare, social security, the state of the economy, public debt, privatization, and the budget roadmap are intended to sharpen our scrutiny and improve the quality of our interventions. My attention has been drawn to a peculiar and concerning trend that has been exhibited in some of our committees. Whenever there has been a pending employment process within our public institutions, the heads of those institutions are repeatedly invited to appear before multiple committees on the same matter. While oversight is a constitutional duty of this House, it must be exercised without creating the perception of undue pressure or causing administrative paralysis. And I've directed the Deputy Speaker and her team of liaison to harmonize the manner in which members of the executive are invited to committees, because I get complaints where a PS or a minister is simultaneously invited to 3 committees of this House at the same time. And that is not right. It doesn't give us a very good name. For example, the Inspector General of Police and the Teacher Service Commission have on occasion been subjected to multiple summons over similar issues, with the reports and concerns subsequently escalating up to my office. I urge committees to coordinate their work and avoid duplication and ensure that oversight enhances governance and facilitates service delivery. And in this regard, honorable members, I wish to reiterate my guidance to audit committees, particularly PAC and PIC, to complete their work in good time. In the matter of audit committees, the constitutional timeline under Article 2298 for consideration and decision-making on the report of the Auditor General is 3 months of the tabling of the report in Parliament. This requires that committees work judiciously and expeditiously towards the conclusion of consideration and reporting. To comply with the 3 months constitutional timeline, I impress upon committees to explore use of written submissions to make decisions, refrain from inviting agencies with clean accounts and commend them, reduce rescheduling of meetings with ministries and agencies, and reprimand institutions that fail to appear in line with the provisions of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, and adopt a subcommittee model of considering audit reports. The splitting of the Public Investments Committee in this 13th Parliament was intended to improve efficiency. This must be adhered to so that we efficiently discharge our duties. We must not, for instance, insist on examining the accounts of every village secondary school and nondescript TVETs in the country when the record is expressed that there is no audit issue raised in respect of these institutions. Some of these institutions have very modest budgets, yet we deploy highly disproportionate resources to the examination of their audit reports. We must rethink our approach and focus on systemic issues by engaging the Auditor General and relevant ministries. Honorable members, I have told some of your colleagues before that I get a lot of complaints of some of us bullying members of the executive who appear before us, some of us constituting welfare officers in our committees, and all those kind of things which I discourage you. I had a case where an institution came running. They had a very small audit query which was explainable of about 400,000, but the story around that was not a very good one for Parliament. Honorable members, succeeding parliaments have over the years expanded the number of committees to facilitate effective oversight. The current 44 committees have been bestowed with far-reaching mandates. Unfortunately, we must admit that some of our committees are yet to fully and meaningfully actualize their mandates. For example, the National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities Committee has a mandate that extends far beyond its perennial examination of employment practices in parastatals and state organs. While fairness in recruitment is important, such a committee must also address broader issues of national cohesion, inclusion, marginalization, ethnic harmony, and equal access to opportunities across the sectors of the society. A narrow interpretation of committee mandates diminishes their impact and effectiveness. Honourable members, permit me also to point out a few concerns with our budget-making process that, if addressed, will greatly assist us to effectively deliver on our mandate and continue to give our best to the citizens of this country. During the budget process, members place great emphasis on the estimates and numerical adjustments to the budget. Members' attention ought to be given to the underlying policy considerations that directly correspond to the estimates and figures. There is need to balance between the two. While proposing amendments to estimates, members should critically assess the broader impact of these decisions. Certain expenditure allocations are counterpart funding for critical projects, and reduction of such allocations may result in unintended adverse consequences, including loss of development funding for public projects. On the aspect of resourcing the counties, I would like to urge us to ensure that we are not the ones who would contribute less resources being allocated to the counties due to the failure by the Public Accounts Committee to examine the current accounts on time. The budget policy statement, which sets the ceilings for allocations of resources to the ministries, departments, and agencies of the national government, will be presented by 15th February 2026. I therefore encourage the PAC does endeavor to conclude its examination of the Auditor General's latest report before the PBS is considered by this House. On security, I am pleased to inform that the Integrated Security Management System, ISMS, has been installed and the project is almost complete. The components of the system installed so far have significantly enhanced safety within the parliamentary precincts. In addition, the training of members' bodyguards, as agreed in our retreat in 2025, has been done and will continue subject to availability of resources. And I urge even you members who bear firearms to undertake refresher firearm security training to ensure both their safety and the safety of those around you. Honorable members, this retreat also places a strong emphasis on institutional reforms, members' welfare, and post-service transition. I am pleased to report continued progress in the entrenchment of the post-service medical scheme to members of Parliament. The rules and guidelines of the scheme have been promulgated. In addition, the Board of Trustees has approved by the House, and the board members have been fully inducted into office, and Honorable T.J. Kajwang is the chair of the Board of Trustees. I am pleased to note that the scheme, being largely contributory, is now fully operational, with all members making their monthly contributions, and this is a major achievement in safeguarding members' welfare beyond active service. Members, any of you who may not be contributing, please do contribute. We've made it compulsory for your sake, because we know what it means when you go out there and you have nowhere to turn. The sessions on pensions, members' facilities, security, and transition planning reflect our recognition that public service must be dignified both during and after tenure. We are not strangers to the fact that political attrition is an unavoidable reality, and the resultant consequence of that is exit from Parliament, which comes with diminished earnings. Yesterday, I was chairing a committee on pensions, and an actuarial report shows that on the average, our attrition rate is 56%. So as we sit here, at least 56% will not see the inside of Parliament next Parliament. And we want to make sure that there must be life, and good life, after you leave Parliament, so that you can be covered health-wise. And to this end, I want to urge, and I've discussed this with the majority leader, we have had 4 pension amendment bills. One sponsored by the Honorable Member for Sirisia, one sponsored by the Honorable Member for Kimilili, and one by the Member for Imendi Central, and the more important one by the Member for Kitui Central, the Honorable Makali Mulu, which he actually inherited from another member. Who was the member who brought it? Mwadime, the current governor of Taita Taveta. I have painstakingly gone through this bill with the Honorable Makali Mulu, the Pensions Committee, actuarial advice, management of Parliament, and the Treasury representation. We have cleaned it up, It's, in my opinion, and my opinion is always a good opinion, it is a very good bill for you. It is going to resurrect the fortunes of people like Wanjala, who served Parliament, left, and came back. We have members out there like the Honorable Jimmy Angwenyi, the Honorable Wamunyinyi, who served Parliament for 2 terms, left and came back and served another 2 terms, and the current law does not recognize one of the 2 terms. So they only get pension for 2 terms. This bill now harmonizes this. This bill respects the term you have served in Parliament, and Sunguli is one of those who served, left, and came back. It will be able to help all the cumulative period you have been in Parliament mean something to your pension. So I want to encourage you. Jane Kihara is also one of those who came, left, and came again. We want to encourage you to give it priority for the simple reason that this bill that touches on your welfare, if you leave it towards elections, it will become an electoral issue against you. So the sooner you pass it, the better. And I want to encourage Ichungwa and your team to put it on the front burner. And you get to Parliament and pass it and wait to benefit from the process. I want to encourage you to give a round of applause to members who serve with me, Dan Wanyama, Honorable Kashove, and Honorable Ariko. Can you stand to be acknowledged? Those are the members of the Pensions Committee. And of course, Honorable Makali Mulu, who has been a constructive member of the committee. And I assure you members, last night we sat with these members from 4 to 9:30 to clean up this bill for you. So the job is now in your court. Honorable members, as was alluded to by the leaders of majority and minority parties during the 4th session, the House passed several critical laws to strengthen governance, protect our economy, and respond to emerging national challenges. Members will recall that during the last session, Section 6 of the Kenya Roads Board Act and Section 47 of the Kenya Roads Act, which underpin the financing and classification of roads across the country, were invalidated by the courts. Apart from appealing the decision as a House, we did pass the Kenya Roads Amendment Bill 2025, sponsored by the House Legislative Caucus to address the issue. The bill was forwarded to the Senate on 21st October 2025 and is awaiting consideration. You all agree with me that the importance of the bill to the financing of road infrastructure cannot be gainsaid. I would urge that all of us utilize our good offices to ensure the prioritization and passage of this bill. Members will also recall that Parliament enacted the Conflict of Interest Act 2025. In sections 31 and 34 of the law, we obligated all state and public officers to declare their income, assets, and liabilities regularly and in timely manner. I am informed that as at this morning, approximately 60% of members have duly filled in and submitted their wealth declaration forms. I wish to remind us that the failure to comply with this law attracts penal consequences. For those members yet to comply, please move with speed and complete the forms and furnish them with the Speaker's office. You know, the original law was that these declarations you make were to be domiciled elsewhere. And you, as truly as your Speaker, in my infinite wisdom, told you that domiciling such an important document about a member of Parliament outside Parliament is tantamount to giving a weapon against members of Parliament to possible detractors. Because in politics, the difference between heroism and being a villain is skin deep. The hero of today is the villain of tomorrow. And domiciling those documents anywhere else opens them to a possibility of opening them secretly, doctoring them, forging them, and using them against you. So those documents will be forever domiciled in Parliament. And anybody who wants to look at them must do so with cogent explanation and believable reasons that will convince Mr. Speaker to allow the documents to be looked at. Probably you have committed a serious criminal offense that requires to look at your documents. We'll evaluate it. You can now see the wisdom in not allowing those documents to be kept by the police or to be kept by ESCC or any other agency. Because when governments change, it's like policemen on a straight line walking and being cheered on left, right, left, right. When you say about turn, number one becomes the last, and the last becomes number one. And that is how governments change and work. Honorable members, as I go towards my end, the 15th Yala in the Parliamentary Games held in the Republic of Uganda from 7th to 17th December 2025 was a notable event from the past year that highlighted the importance of health, fitness, and general well-being. I want to salute our teams, the Honorable Senior Counsel Otienda Amolo, Honorable Kawaya, and our team leaders. You did not visit on your speaker the humiliation you did in Mombasa. This time around, you played well, you won medals, and you emerged the overall best team. Hongera, hongera sana. You remember how I sat in Mombasa, helplessly watching Uganda take each and every trophy as we cheered on. This time around, you did very well, and congratulations. And Parliament will continue supporting these games because it is a process of integrating the East African region, and the best way is to bring legislators and representatives of the people together. Honorable members, as I conclude, this retreat is not merely a routine meeting. It's an opportunity to secure the legacy of the 13th Parliament, to deliver decisively on the 5th session agenda, and to formulate and finalize the legislation and regulations that will govern the transition to the next Parliament. The people of Kenya expect leadership, foresight, and integrity from us at all times. Let us not lose sight of the fact that the preparedness of the nation for the forthcoming elections is a matter of national interest. This House has a constitutional responsibility to ensure that the legal and institutional framework for elections inspires public confidence, credibility, and peaceful participation. Where gaps exist, we must act decisively, guided by the Constitution, judicial pronouncements, and the lessons from previous electoral cycles. I urge you, honorable members, to engage candidly, listen attentively, and live here renewed in purpose, so that as we go to these next sessions, we give the country confidence, we give the country hope, and we go to the elections better than we have done previously. You've seen the challenges that have gripped the African continent. All countries going to elections are on tenterhooks. Let's, for a change, go to the next elections in the mood that we had in this country in 2002, where after elections, President Kibaki's election was hailed as ushering in Kenyans as the most hopeful people on earth. And I'm sure we can recreate that. Honorable members, with those many remarks, I now declare this retreat and all the proceedings officially opened. We shall all sit here. I encourage you, please participate meaningfully and fully. We will, after this, I'm told we have a photo session out there. When we finish, please come back and we start the next sessions immediately so that we can be able to cover as much ground as we possibly can. Nawashukuru sana, Mungu awabariki, muendelee kuombea nchi yetu, muombee rais wetu na mjiombee wenyewe. Mambo iwe nyepesi ikifika 2027. Thank you.
Another round of applause for our speaker. I think, Mr. Speaker, the only other time I've seen you disappointed, apart from our performance in Mombasa, is lack of quorum. So I'm happy that we have redeemed our name in terms of sports this time. Honorable members, the photo session will be outside, will be guided by the protocol. Kindly follow this tall man. You cannot miss him. Matiko will be guiding us. We will have 4 photos. Photo number 1 will be all members of parliament plus leadership. So kindly when we exit, let us go straight. Photo number 2 will be leadership plus committee chairs and their vice chairs. Photo number 3 will be leadership plus Kewopa. Photo number 4 will be leadership plus all staff of the National Assembly. Thank you very much, and let us come back immediately after the photo.
So both sides, either way, juu ama chini we are fading. Just and then here, nakuja kuna stop. Tutoi, ile nini, ile kwa, sasa na ikebo. Oh, lakini ni photo session alafu waro. So to chill bado.